Hello, my name is Lena Ingham, your designated account manager at Egencia. In today's demo, I will be reviewing the profile. I will book an entire trip that includes a flight, hotel, and car. I will show you ways to manage the trip before and after you hit the road, as well as additional resources for you on the Egencia site. First, we're going to take a look at profile. Your name on the upper right-hand corner, click profile. There are many sections here, but I'm going to show you only the items that many of our travelers come to this section for. So the first important thing is personal information, name, address, and phone number. The first and foremost thing is your traveler's name. You want to make sure that it matches the government issued ID that you plan on using when you're traveling. The reason why this is extremely important is this is where we pull your name from when we issue you your flight ticket. If you see that there's a misspelling or it needs to be changed, you yourself are not able to make that change. Only your conference services team is able to make that change for you. So please let them know before you book your next trip. Traveler's phone number, we do require 3 numbers as it facilitates contact in case of an emergency. You can have the same number for all 3 numbers, just like I have indicated here in my profile. Traveler's home address as well as emergency contact information are not required fields on our site. However, your association does highly recommend that you include the emergency contact information. The second area here is TSA Secure Flight. Again, you want to make sure that the name matches the government issued ID that you plan on using when you're traveling. First name, last name. The middle name as well as suffix are not required fields. You then put your gender, date of birth. If you have a TSA redress number or a TSA known traveler number, otherwise known as a TSA pre-check number, this is where you would include that. If your known traveler number does have a middle name, middle initial, or suffix, please make sure you do indicate that on the section here. The second row, payment options, you can add or delete credit cards at any time by simply clicking on View Credit Cards and adding a credit card. You would choose from one of the drop-down menus here. These are the 5 credit cards that we support. You would enter your credit card number, add initial entry, then the numbers are shown, but once you click Save, the numbers will be X'd out for security purposes. Then enter the cardholder's name as it appears on the card, so first name, last name, and then a card description. Along with the card description, it's one of our practices here at Egencia to have the last 4 digits next to the card description. And the reason why is when you're speaking with an agent or booking online, we will always ask you for the last 4 digits, so it just saves you time along the way. You then want to provide the billing address as well as the phone number associated with the billing address. The third row here, travel preferences. So any preferences related to flight, hotel, or car, this is where you can put that information here. This information does get passed to the vendor. However, we do not guarantee it. It is depending upon the vendor, if they have the availability and if they're able to accommodate your request. One thing I do want to point out is that you'll see a note here away from elevators for my hotel preferences. I just want to make a note of it because I do want to show you what it looks like when we're in the booking path. The second item here is frequent traveler account. So any loyalty points that you may have with the airline, hotel, or rental car, or even rail, you would include that information here. You also want to make sure that you indicate which status you have. So for example, my profile, I have an Alaska MVP Gold member. Another example of this would be Delta. So Delta currently has 5 different levels. So you can see Delta Sky Miles all the way to Delta Diamond Medallion. You want to make sure that if you are Delta Diamond Medallion, you indicate that versus just putting a number for your Sky Miles. We want to make sure that the airline has the most accurate information. That way your preferences or your benefits are applied once you are at the airport and check in or once you depart. Also, if you know that your status qualifies you for preferred seating, you can always check on this box here. The last row here, Egencia on the go, flight alert. You can add up to 8 different contacts here. We can send you alerts of any delays, cancellation, or gate changes via email, voicemail, or text message. There is a caveat though. We do contract with a third-party vendor for this information, so anything within So what that means is we only can provide you with updates up to 2 hours prior to departure. Anything within 2 hours is considered airport control, and that information would come from the airline and airport directly. And the last section here is calendar sync setting. You can sync your calendar, your itinerary to your calendar. You will be given calendar invites, and that invite will, you can either accept or decline. It'll have information of that itinerary. So if it's a hotel, it may have the hotel's address, confirmation number, check-in and check-out date. If it's a flight, it could be the confirmation number, your ticket number, etc. The last thing I do want to mention here is the profile is that for credit cards and expense reporting. If you used a personal credit card to make your travel arrangements, use Concur to submit the expense report. If you used a corporate credit card to make your travel arrangements, use SDOL as before. Egencia and Concur are working on a partnership right now. We are working with the Alzheimer Association to get that partnership integrated. So what that means is your itinerary will be integrated to your Concur account, so that way the receipts will be available for you, making it easier for you to submit an expense report. That will be live in Q2 of 2016, so keep an eye out on that. But in the meantime, follow these two procedures, either expensing through Concur or SDOL. Also, with Travel Store in the past, you were given a code to use for a specific meeting or conference. So that way your flight was paid for. On Egencia, that code is no longer needed. If you're attending a meeting or a conference and your flight is paid for, your team will be sending you a URL or a link specifically for that conference. By booking a flight within that link, your flight will then be paid for, and so you do not need to enter a code in any way. Now, to get to the home page at any given point, you can just click on the Egencia logo on the upper left-hand side. Again, this is the exact same screen and view that you will see when you log on as a traveler. You will see any of your active trips or upcoming trips that you may have. If you hover over the item, if it's grayed out, it just means the item has not been booked. If it has been booked, it will be yellow. You will see the search path for flight, train, hotel, and car. On the left-hand side, you'll see any service or weather advisory alerts we want to make sure that our travelers are aware of. If you do need to contact an agent for whatever reason, the number is listed here for you to contact. The only thing that I do not have on today's site is any unused tickets. So if you were to book the flight on Egencia and cancel it on Egencia as well, we will assist you in managing that unused ticket. A box will appear here that shows you the value of that unused ticket, the airline, as well as the expiration date. Along the booking path, we will have a message that says an unused ticket may be applied, and if you select that carrier at the checkout page, we will also ask you if you want to apply that unused ticket. I'm going to book an entire trip that includes a flight, hotel, or car. The first thing you want to see is take a look at your flight messages. So these are messages that your team, as well as myself, has been put into place for your reference. So they could be generic messages, or they could be messages pertaining to that line item. In this case here, it looks like these are 3 generic messages for your information. So before you book your trip, just take the time to glance at it to see if anything has been changed or updated. Like most sites, our site will default by round trip. You can always change it to one way or multiple destinations. Today's demo, I will be starting with flying from Seattle. If you check include nearby airports, it will include airports within a 100-mile radius. I'm going to leave today on February 21st. It's also one of our best practices at Egencia to not leave this as any time and to always target a time. And the reason why is the algorithms on our site is a lot different than what you would find on leisure sites such as Kayak, Travelocity, Expedia, etc. And what I mean by that is we're not going to render all the search results for you. Just as a business traveler, taking a red eye or taking a flight that has 2 connections may not make the most sense for you. So we want to find and only filter the best search results for your trip. It'll always search for flights within a plus or minus 2-hour window, but you can always change that by clicking on the drop-down menu here. In today's demo, I will be traveling to Chicago. I'm going to leave this unchecked as well. Again, coming back on the 23rd, again, targeting the time. You can target your search in any way, so if you want to filter by a specific carrier, alliance, class, number of stops, maybe connection airport, or maybe you only want to see the only refundable flights only. Targeting the search does increase the likelihood of your trip to be out of policy. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't book it. It just means that you need to provide a reason as to why you're booking something out of policy. So here are the search results here. You will see it's organized here at the top for you by the number of stops, so non-stop, 1 stop, and all flights. You can book Southwest on our site, including the Wanna Get Away fares. The site will allow you to book directly on Egencia. You will not have to go to Southwest site to book your flight. The flight will automatically organize by your preferred carrier, which is in this case, United Airlines is a preferred carrier for the association. But if you want to filter by price, duration, arrival, departure, airline, you can always click on the items here at this first row. Also, if you want to filter the search results even further, so right now there's currently 21 matching flights. Let's say you want to expand the window of time, you want to see maybe just a specific carrier, maybe you want to see a connection city or airport. You can always filter the results here. Now let's say, for example, I'm going to filter to only see Alaska. It's telling me now that there are 4 matching flights out of the 20 or so flights that we originally saw. There is a link here located to the right of it. If you click on this link, what it will do is it will go back into our system to check to see if there's any additional flights that meet these new parameters that you gave us. So now instead of 4 matching flights, there are now 9 matching flights. So I'm going to go back and just see all airlines. The original time that I wanted to leave was 9 a.m. as indicated up here on the left-hand side. So let's see, I don't really have a preference on carrier. I just want the flight that has the lowest travel time. So in this case here, it looks like there's a couple that are within that 9 o'clock window, but it looks like these 3 out of, let's say, this has the least flying time, 8 hours, and 14 versus 10 hours, in this case 11 hours. So I'm going to select this one. And this is a round trip ticket price. So if you go to the next page to select your return flight, and there is a flight that's a different price. So for example here, $496, what it'll do is the next page after we select a specific flight, it will have the final price for you. But in this case here, I wanted to leave at 2 p.m. This is exactly, it's perfect, 2 p.m. There's a one stop, great. So I'm select this flight here. Now this again, as I mentioned, will detail the total cost of the flight for you. You want to take a look to read the rules and restrictions, whether it's refundable, whether you can transfer it, whether name changes are allowed, and this is the reason why it is extremely important to make sure that the name on your profile matches the government issued ID that you plan on using. You've read the rules and restrictions, you're going to add a hotel as well. Now, because I'm searching for a hotel directly after my flight search, it plugged in the destination for me as well as the check-in and check-out date. But you can always change it by clicking on address or an airport. There's also this destination link that's available to you on the right-hand side. If you click on the drop-down menu here, there's only one option currently available for you to view, and this is the association's headquarter office. So let's say I'm based here in Seattle, and I'm going to the headquarter office for training. Chicago is a large city. I've never been to Chicago before. I'm not sure where the headquarter is. By having this destination link here for you, it'll search for hotels that are nearby, and it'll also tell you once you select a hotel how far you are from the headquarter location. And again, before you move forward, you want to take a look to see if there's any messages that are pertaining to hotel. So in this case here, these are the 3 same messages that we saw on the previous page. So nothing you need to do to click into it. If you want to filter the results or target the search result in any way by hotel name or class, it's available here for you. Now our site, we've done a lot of research with a lot of our travelers, and we've noticed that many travelers, including myself, we toggle between screens. So what I mean by that is we will have maybe 5 windows up, searching maybe reviews of that hotel on TripAdvisor. Maybe we want to see photos of that hotel. So we have maybe at one point when we're searching for a hotel, we possibly could have 5 different windows up. But what we did for you on our hotel searches, we're making it a lot easier for you to find the correct hotel for you. So we've embedded everything into this view for you, and I'll show you what that looks like. So the first thing here is that you currently have a negotiated rate at the Swiss Hotel in Chicago that will always appear first. Anytime there's a negotiated rate in a city that you're traveling to and the Alzheimer's Association has a negotiated rate, that hotel will show first. There's a filters link on the top. You can always filter those search results by the price, by star rating, or specific amenities that are important to you. So once you actually click into a hotel, you'll be able to see all the different rate types that are available. And you'll see on the left-hand side here, for example, this Swiss Hotel Chicago is only 0.2 miles from the headquarters. It's also about 9 miles away from Midway. It shows you how far you are from the closest airport. Cities, depending on where you search, may have how far you are from the local train station and how many restaurants there are nearby. A couple of things I do want to point out to you when you are searching for a hotel. So, for example, I'm going to scroll down and take a look at the Hyatt Place Chicago in downtown. This rate here is the lowest rate. However, if you click into it, it'll show you all the different rate types that are available: bed, views, etc. Things to point out here: not refundable. This messaging here lets you know that there's no cancellation and no changes allowed on this itinerary. If you want more information, you can always simply click on it in order to view more of the terms and conditions of this specific rate. If you need to have more flexibility in your hotel booking, find the rate that has refundable before a specific date and time. If you see this message, payment through Egencia, what this means is that the credit card that you use when you make the booking will be charged at the time of check-in. Egencia will provide you with the receipt 24 hours after you've checked out. The hotel will still ask you for a credit card for incidental purposes, but upon checkout, they will not be able to provide you with a receipt. The opposite message is for payment at hotel. This means that the credit card that you use at the time of booking is only to hold the room. Once you get to the hotel, they will ask you for a credit card, for room and taxes, and they will provide you with the receipt at checkout. The last thing that's extremely important for me to mention, and that's important for many travelers, is eligibility for hotel loyalty points. As obtaining points is important to you, you want to make sure that you see a hotel with this verbiage. If you do not see this verbiage next to a specific rate, you will not receive loyalty points. So for example here, this rate that's 116 will provide me with loyalty points, but this rate here, because it does not say that here, this rate will not provide loyalty points. So if you need to have more flexibility in your hotel plans and if you need loyalty points, select on this rate, especially since it's only a $5 difference. So what I'm going to do, so the last thing also is, as I mentioned, toggling between screens. We've embedded everything here for you. The second tab here is Details tab. This information, as I mentioned, has hotel photos. It has information about the hotel, what amenities they may have. It has information maybe about any additional fees, could be parking or maybe internet fees. It actually has room amenities, maybe some specific policies they may have, and what dining options are available at that hotel. And the third tab that we have up here for you is reviews. So we've taken all the TripAdvisor reviews that are business related and have embedded onto this Egencia hotel search for you. And the reason why we chose business travel reviews only is because what you're looking for as a business traveler is much different than what a family of 4 or a couple would look for when they're traveling to Chicago. So in this case here, I really don't have a preference of hotel. I'm going to the headquarters for location for training, and this is a preferred hotel. I don't care about loyalty points, so I'm going to select that. And I'm going to select the negotiated rate as it's indicated here. And on this page, on the hotel details page, is exactly what we saw on the air details page. So it'll have the room rate, the check-in, check-out date. It'll have the dollar amount per night. It'll have the address of that hotel. It'll have any mandatory hotel imposed fees listed here. And take the time to read the rules and restrictions like we saw on the previous page for flights. So the payment and receipt will remind you who will charge you, either us or the hotel, and who will provide you with the receipt and when, whether us or the hotel at the time of check-in or at checkout. And also take a look at any cancellation or changes that are available for this specific rate and hotel. Now I've read the rules and restrictions, I'm going to continue to the car selection of the site. Now, because I'm looking for a car directly after my flight search, it plugged in the airport, so it looks like it plugged in O'Hare. It also plugged in the date and time for me as well. If you want to change the search, you can always change the drop-down menu here and choose near a place or near a U.S. address. You can also target the search, just like what we saw in the previous 2 pages. So for example, you want to see maybe a specific car class, rental car company, or maybe some specific special equipment. So before you hit search, again, you want to take a look at any car messages up here that may be pertaining to this line item. So again, these are 3 generic messages, nothing that's really pertaining to car that I need to click into to read about. However, this is what we call a pop-up message that have been put into place for you. This is just information about insurance, and that your travel team or your conference services want to make sure that you read before you choose your car. If you have any information about your travel policy, that can be found here on Insight, and this links to the Insight site directly, where you would then just enter your username and password. I do want to stop here and mention staff renting vehicles should waive all coverage offered by the rental company. The association's insurance policy provides blanket liability coverage on rental vehicles, so coverage is automatic. Once you've read this message, click I've read this messages. Alzheimer's Association does have a negotiated rate with Avis, and it is shown here at first. So whenever possible, please book Avis. If you do want to see all the different rate types or all the different rental car companies, you can scroll down to see them. So for example, Enterprise, Budget, National, Hertz, Dollar, etc. But in my scenario here, I don't have a preference, so I'll just choose Avis. Sometimes in the site, you'll see a red flag. It means that something is out of policy. And if you simply hover over it, it'll tell you the reason why it's out of policy. So in this case here, it reads the car class doesn't comply with the travel policy. Again, the travel policy can be found on Insight. So in this case here, I'm going to book something out of policy. I'm going to Chicago in February. I'm going to choose a full-size SUV. So this next page here is the exact same thing what we've been seeing the past 2 pages. It's going to show you the vehicle, pick up, drop off location, where I will be picking up and dropping off, the rental rates, again, rules and restrictions. Now there's nothing else that I need. I'm going to continue to the checkout page. This page here has all 3 items that we looked at. So it has the airline, it has a rental car, as well as the hotel. If, for example, you're thinking you may not need the rental car for this trip, you can always uncheck that and it won't be shown on the next page. For the sake of this demo, I will leave it checked so I can show you what it looks like to book an item that is out of policy. By simply clicking Book Now, it'll take you to this Trip Preferences page, which is exactly what you saw in the beginning of today's demo in the Profile section. So you have the option of sending alerts. If your Egencia on the go alerts have been set up, you can always sync your calendar in this section here. Again, your profile name needs to match the government issued ID, the 3 phone numbers that I have indicated. Booking options, I do have the option of purchasing it now. We still have a 24-hour void window. Or you can reserve it until midnight tomorrow. We do hold the seat for you, however, we do not guarantee the price. If you do need to guarantee the price, you can just purchase it now. Again, there is that 24-hour void window. Secure flight, again, all the information passed over. The seating preferences, so aisle, forward of wing, you can always change it. Anything that you change here in this trip preferences page will be automatically saved for you into your profile. That way you don't have to go back into your profile to add all of this information. For example, let's say I'm flying United to Chicago. I don't have a membership number yet, but let's say I just signed up for United. I can always add it here, and this will be saved into my profile. That way, the next time I book United, it'll automatically appear. Again, hotel, as you recall from the beginning of the demo, I made a note of away from elevators. All of this information transferred over. So when you're actually booking a trip, this is much easier. It saves and it has all of your historical data. That way, just again, saves you time along the way when you're booking a trip. And the last section here, this is information requested by the association. As you recalled, I selected a car that was out of policy. If you selected a hotel or a flight that was out of policy, you will see 3 different boxes, so you need to provide a reason code for each line item. But because my flight and hotel were in policy and only my car is out of policy, there's only 1 box here for me. So again, it'll remind you as to why it wasn't out of policy, and you need to choose from one of the drop-down menus here. So in this case, I'm probably thinking, weather or terrain requires me to pick this. Now I'm going to continue. This section here is Seat Pinpointer, which is Seat Guru powered by TripAdvisor for you to select your seat. So I prefer aisle, so I'm going to select this. And if you have a layover, it'll ask you to select the seat for all legs of your flight. Now this last page here is your payment page. It'll break out all 3 items that you looked at. So for my flight, for example, it'll confirm everything that you saw. It'll give you even a cost breakdown here on the right-hand side. Payment information, this box here is much larger because I do not have a credit card on my profile already. If you enter a credit card here, you do have the option to remember it for future use. So this card is automatically saved to your profile. If you already do have a card on the profile, then there will be a drop-down menu such as this here. There will be a box located to the right side of it asking you for the last 4 digits. This is the reason why it's one of our best practices to have the last 4 digits of that card next to the description of the card just to make it easier for you when you're booking. Same thing with hotel, it'll give you information again about the payment and receipt method. So room payment will be collected by the hotel at checkout. And then for the car section, those of you that have booked rental cars in the past know that rental cars do not require prepayment. The pickup counter will ask you for a credit card when you get there. Now you're done, you can either have the option of completing the booking now, or if let's say you're not sure if you've got budget approval yet, or you don't know if you need to be in Chicago for 2 days, maybe you might need to be there for 3 or 4 days. You can always cancel the booking and save the trip for later. It'll create an itinerary for you and take you to this itinerary page. Now, in order to get to this itinerary page at any given point, so if you were on the home page, if you were to sign in, as you recall, we only had one trip to LA. Now you will see there is a Chicago destination that included my flight, hotel, and car that I looked at. There's also the trip tabs here at the top. If I click into it, it'll show the trips that I have. And if let's say there's a past hotel that you stated that you really liked but don't recall the name of that hotel, you can always search your transaction history here on the bottom. But to go back to that specific itinerary, just click on the destination here. And let's say you'll see a couple of things. So this concludes the booking a trip portion of today's demo. I'm going to show you ways to manage the trip before and after you hit the road. So this is the itinerary page, and you'll see the status row column here. The item will not be booked or won't be reserved, but sometimes you'll see it'll be changed to ticketing in progress, confirmed, etc. For the flight, so I do want to show you in the flight page here, if you scroll down, there are 4 different buttons that say purchase, reserve, change, or delete. Once you've actually booked the flight, these buttons will change. So whether you want to change your seat, change your flight, or maybe cancel your flight. Most of the items can be done on our site. However, if you need to contact an agent, that number is also listed here for you on the left-hand side, which is similar to the home page. Now there's a toolbox here on the left-hand side that's available for you. So if you want to invite others, so for example, let's say there's 3 of you that's all going to Chicago for the same training, you want to create a group trip that allows you all to see each other's itinerary, so you know when to book and what hotel, etc. You can always email your itinerary. You can always print your itinerary, download it in a PDF version. Egencia will send you a receipt 24 hours after your trip. However, you can always obtain the receipt here if, let's say, you've deleted it or it was a month after the trip and you need to pull the receipt in order to complete your expense report. Transaction history, this will show if there's let's say, $100 charge on your credit card. You're not sure where that came from. If you've made all the changes on our site, that information will be shown here for you. So most oftentimes than not, that $100 was probably a change fee of some sort from that specific airline. You can always copy the trip, or you can delete this itinerary so it doesn't junk up your trips tab here at the top. Now I'm going to show you additional resources for you that's available on the Egencia site. By simply clicking on the tool tabs here at the top and going to the Traveler Center. The Traveler Center here has a lot of how-to videos and a lot of frequently asked questions. So if I scroll down, it'll also have information about our mobile app. Our mobile app is called Trip Navigator, currently available for iPhone, iPad, and Android. It has push notifications alerting you when it's time to check into your flight, gate information, which baggage carousel your bags will be at once you get to your destination, etc. A great resource to have when you are on the road. Again, that's Trip Navigator, currently available for Android, iPhone, and iPad. Again, there's videos here, maybe a quick profile video. It has searching for the right flight and just kind of tips and best practices here for you. On the left-hand side, there's also a travel essentials section that many of our travelers come to this section for. So it has insider tips. It even has information about the TSA secure flight information. It even has visa passport requirements as well. The last and most important thing I do want to mention is that Egencia has a flight price promise. We have leveraged our buying power in the industry with Expedia being our parent company. So we offer very competitive pricing on our Egencia site. If for whatever reason you do find a flight within 24 hours and it's an apples to apples comparison, so it's the same economy flight, it has the same cancellation policies, etc., and it's within 24 hours of the time that you booked your flight, call our agents and our agents can void your ticket and book you on that lower fare flight. Or they can, if they're not able to do that, they can refund the difference for you. So this concludes today's demo. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen in. We look forward to having you all on board and booking your next flight on the Egencia site. Thank you so much and have a great day.